Welcome back to Outside Views Military, and today we're tackling one of the most debated topics in German military history, and that is the transition from the G36 to the new G95 I presented to you in the last video, and the hard lessons learned in the mountains of Afghanistan. And to understand why the Bundeswehr is spending nearly 800 million euros on a new rifle system, we have to look back at the era of the 1990s when the G36 was first introduced. At that time, the Cold War had just ended, and the German military was pivoting from a heavy territorial defense force to an army in deployment focused on peacekeeping. The G36 was designed for this new world. It was incredibly lightweight due to its polymer construction, easy to maintain, and featured an integrated dual optics system that was revolutionary for its time. And for years, it was considered one of the best service rifles in the world, performing reliably in the Balkans and during the early years of the ISAF mission in Afghanistan. However, the nature of the mission in Afghanistan changed dramatically after 2008 as the Bundeswehr found itself engaged in high-intensity infantry combat against the Taliban. The pivotal moment for the G36 reputation came during the Karfreitagsgefecht, or the Good Friday battle in 2010, where German paratroopers were pinned down in a grueling hours-long firefight in extreme heat. Reports began to surface from the front lines, suggesting that when the G36 became hot, either from high ambient temperatures or sustained rapid fire, its point of impact began to shift significantly. And this sparked a massive political and legal scandal in Germany, with then Defense Minister Ursula von der Leyen declaring in 2015 that the G36 had no future in the Bundeswehr in its current form. And while Heckler & Koch eventually won a court case proving the rifle met the original technical specifications, the damage was done and the search for a system Sturmgewehr began. And the lesson from Afghanistan was clear. A modern service rifle must be able to maintain surgical precision even under the most extreme thermal stress and in prolonged engagements. And this is exactly where the G95, based on the HK416A8, enters the picture to fix the perceived flaws of its predecessor. The most fundamental difference between the two rifles is the material used for its receiver. While the G36 is mostly polymer, the G95 is built from high-strength forged aluminum. And metal acts as a much more effective heat sink, dissipating thermal energy away from the barrel and from the optic mounting points much more consistently than plastic. And this ensures that even after several magazines of rapid fire, the G95's point of impact remains stable, addressing the primary lesson learned from the Hindukush. Another major evolution is the operating system. While both use a short-stroke gas piston, the G95's execution is refined for higher durability and lower maintenance interference. In Afghanistan, soldiers often had to engage targets at distances of 300 to 500 meters, which pushed the G36 original 3x optical sight to its absolute limit. The G36 optics were fixed and often criticized for having a tunnel vision effect and poor performance in low light or dusty conditions. The G95 solves this with the Elkin Spectre DR, which offers a true 1x to 4x magnification switch, giving the soldier a much better chance of identifying and neutralizing targets at those extended ranges. Furthermore, the G95 features the standardized Stanek 4694 rails, allowing for the modular attachment of thermal sights and night vision devices without losing zero. On the old G36, mounting modern accessories often required tacking on adapters that would be bulky and less stable in the field. And ergonomics is another area where the lesson of a decade of combat are visible in the G95's design. The G36 featured a proprietary design with a side-folding stock, which was great for stowing the rifle in a vehicle, but lacked adjustability for soldiers wearing heavy body armor. The G95 adopts the AR-15 style buffer tube and telescoping stock, allowing every soldier to customize the length of pull to their specific equipment and their body size. The charging handle on the G95 is located at the rear of the receiver, which is a departure from the G36's top-mounted folding handle. And while the G36 handle was arguably easier to reach in some positions, the G95 central handle is more robust and less prone to snagging on gear or vegetation. And one of the most praised features of the G36 was its translucent plastic magazine that could be clipped together, but these were often bulky and did not fit in standard NATO pouches. The G95 moves to the NATO standard Stanag magazine, ensuring that a German soldier can share ammunition with an American, French or British comrade in the middle of a fight. And this interoperability was a key requirement discovered during multinational operations where logistics were often a nightmare. Weight is the only area where the G36 might still hold an advantage. At roughly 3.6 kilograms, it was a joy to carry on long mountain patrols compared to the nearly 6 kilogram fully loaded G95. However, the consensus among combat veterans is that the extra weight of the metal G95 is quite a small price to pay for the increased reliability and precision it offers. The G95 also brings a more advanced over-the-beach capability, meaning it can be fired safely almost immediately after being submerged in water. That's a requirement from the Seebataillon. The G36 era was defined by the transition from a conscript army to a professional expeditionary force, and the rifle reflected the optimism of the early 2000s. The G95 era is defined by the Zeitenwende and the return of high-intensity conflict where good enough is no longer acceptable for the individual soldier. By adopting the HK416 platform, Germany is essentially admitting that the unique polymer-heavy path of the 90s has reached its tactical dead end. The G95 is a tool built for the high-end fighter who needs a rifle that functions like a precision instrument regardless of the environment. And while the G36 will remain in the hands of reserve units for years to come, its time as the primary weapon of the German front line is over. And the lessons of the dusty valleys of Afghanistan are now etched into the aluminum and glass of the G95. It's a more expensive, heavier and more demanding weapon, but it's one that the troops can trust when the temperature rises and the lead starts flying. So thank you for joining me for this comparison on Outside Views Military. The transition to the G95 is just one part of the wider modernization of the German infantrymen. And if you want to see a deep dive into the new protected gear and electronic infantrymen of the future system, let me know in the comments below. And make sure to subscribe so you stay informed on how the Bundeswehr is adapting to the challenges of 2026 and beyond. Until next time, stay sharp and stay safe.